And welcome to the Township of Whitewater Region's regular council meeting for Tuesday, June 24th. We're going to call ourselves to order here at 2:32. Thanks for your patience. We're just going through a new login password, which has just been a little bit troublesome. So we're getting through. First item on our agenda is the national anthem. I'll ask that please stand and remove your hats and face the flag, please.
No audio. Okay, fine. Who wants to sing?
Good. What we'll do is we're going to pause, give them a chance to work on that. We'll just carry on with the meeting. We'll come back to this item in a minute. So once you get it set up, just let me know and we'll pause. Good. The next item on our agenda is the land acknowledgement, and I was going to impose on Councillor Olmsted today if he could do the land acknowledgement.
I would love to, if I can use the word Algonquin. Want to go? As we gather, we would like to acknowledge on behalf of the Township Whitewater Region and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of Indigenous people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years.
Thank you. We're good to go? Okay. Again, if we could please stand, face the flag. Excellent. Thank you for scrambling. Last council meeting, we actually employed one of the members of the audience to sing national anthem for us because we could not get it figured out. So thank goodness I wasn't singing. Next item on our agenda is the adoption of the agenda. The recommendation before us is that the Council of Township Whitewater Region approve the June 24th, 2025 agenda. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Deputy Mayor, Councillor Olmsted. Is there any changes that any member of council wants to recommend for the agenda as presented?
I do.
Councillor Moore.
I notice under presentations that there's one name possibly missing.
Which item?
Well, it would be between 6.1 and 6.2. He's sitting in the audience and he's speaking, but he's not on the agenda.
You're talking about Mr. Heavner?
Yes.
Mr. Heavner is going to speak under the public comments item number 9.
Okay. But it's still not listed, so it doesn't have to be?
No, it doesn't have to be listed. And I'll just get the clerk to verify that. That's what I was told.
That's correct. We normally don't hear about public comments until 24 hours before the meeting, so they don't normally make it on the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Thank you for that double check. Appreciate it. Any other comments from members of council? Okay, seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's carried. Thank you. Next is item number 4, which is the adoption of minutes, including those from our committees and boards, but there are none as listed on our agenda, so just highlighting that. Next item on the agenda is number 5, disclosures of interest. Is there any item for which a member of council needs to disclose for? Councillor Olmsted.
Yeah, item 10.1, zoning bylaw amendment, a direct interest.
Perfect. There's a form that you need to provide to the clerk before, and at the time that we go to that item, we'll ask you to step out of the room.
He generally has to state his intent.
Oh, you state, what was the language you used? Direct interest? Yeah. Is that sufficient, clerk? Yeah, okay, good. No other disclosures? Good. Then next item on our agenda is presentations, and today we have a full slate of presentations. We have 3 delegations and 1 public meeting. What's wrong?
We might need to take 2 minutes so I can go get the presentations that are saved on my other computer.
Oh, to
Sorry.
present them?
I think
Good.
they have-
Can you go get them and I'll keep talking?
Sorry.
Good, no problem. Now, I just remind those people that might be watching or those people that are present today, the delegation option is for members of the community to be able to provide information directly to council in the form of a 10-minute presentation. And the clerk will give a warning at about the 9-minute mark, just so that you have some ability to make sure that you complete all your points. After that presentation, then council will have the opportunity to ask as many questions or make any points that they'd like to do as a result of the delegation, just to make sure that we understand the information we provided. That doesn't count towards the 10 minutes. Good? Good. And the clerk is just grabbing the stick with, I believe it's the PowerPoint from the first presentation. We'll make that gets queued up before we start. So we'll just pause for a moment. Good, so we'll queue that up. First presentation that we're getting to the delegation that we have to council, item 6.1 is on Whitewater Region water meters. And Mr. Donald Deere and Mrs. Ann Guest will be doing this delegation. So I ask you to come up to the mic. Just make sure it's turned on. It's good. Mic is on?
Sorry?
Perfect.
Yeah, it's on. Yeah.
Good, floor is yours.
Okay, good afternoon. This is mainly about water meters for Whitewater Region and why you should have them, but there's a couple other topics in here as well. So next slide, please. There were 2 recommendations of the many from the task force. One was to reevaluate rate classes, and the second was meter large users, 1 to 3 years, high priority. And neither one of these were mentioned in the Watson report. So I suggest we start by metering the brewery in 2025 to see what the actual consumption is. The reason for this is the water usage of one of the largest users is completely unknown. Cost of 1 meter is about $1,000. Surely we can afford that. Next, please. Why meters? most of you are aware of why we need meters, but meters on water, one point I want to make, are no different than meters on electricity and natural gas, and we all have that, I think. Next slide. Watson study recommends that going to 10 times the residential rate for large commercial Tier 2 for 2026. Tier 2 includes the brewery as well as the car wash. After brewery started in 2018 and some new homes were built, water consumption went up by an average of 35,000 cubic meters a year, but wastewater only went up by about 11,000, and that's from Aqua. A funeral home has only one connection for water and wastewater, but pays two different rates, residential and medium commercial. Next. Can you make it a little bit larger? I'm having trouble reading. Okay, good. Documentation against residential use, or discrimination against residential users in the funeral home. Several residential homes only have one person's. Funeral home will pay almost $8,000 in 2025, which is 25% more than the brewery pays. That's ridiculous. Funeral home has an installed water meter and should be allowed to use it. In 2013, May 2013, Council approved a water meter for Perry Blanche, and as long as he got it calibrated. From recommendations in the Watson study, section 1.9.2, should the properties believe they use less water, they may install a water meter at their own cost and pay the volumetric weight. Next slide. Existing issues, meter rates for 2025 versus actual cost. This is excluding reserve, grants, growth, and litigation settlements. Total water used in Whitewater region in 2024, good, was approximately 351,000 cubic meters. Total cost of operating the water treatment plants in Whitewater in 2025, according to Watson, is $1.5 million apparently. For similar water usage in 2025 as in 2024, cost of water is $4.30 a cubic meter. Metered rate for water in 2025 is $2.10, so it's basically half what it actually costs the town. Next slide. This is a continuation of the previous slide. Total water used in Cobden in 2024 was 210,000 cubic meters. Total cost of operating the wastewater treatment plant in 2025 is $1.436 million. Similar water usage in 2025, if it's the same as 2024, cost to process wastewater is $6.84 a cubic meter of water. The metered rate for wastewater in 2025 is $5.06. Big difference. Next slide. Whoop, too far. Okay, for 2026, for water assuming similar consumption in 2024, cost to process is $4.58 per cubic meter versus proposed rate of $2.20. Residential customer will pay $7.60 a cubic meter if they use 167 cubic meters annual usage as stated by Watson. For wastewater, assuming similar consumption as 2024, cost to process wastewater is $7.25 per cubic meter versus proposed rate of $5.26. Residential customer, however, will pay $12.19 per cubic meter for wastewater usage of 167 cubic meters of water. Next slide. Proposed rates for brewery in 2026 is 10 times the residential rate, and assuming the brewery uses 2942 cubic meters annually, as shown in the Watson report, Whitewater cost of water is $4.58. The rate the brewery would pay would be $4.31. Whitewater cost to process wastewater is $7.25. Proposed rate for the brewery was $6.92. Proposed rate, this is an interesting one. The proposed rate for the car wash in 2026 is 10 times the residential rate. So the cost to the car wash owner would be over $33,000 for water and sewer. Watson report that a car wash on average per bay uses per year 1,609 cubic meters. At 150 liters per car wash, that means Cobden's single bay car wash would handle 29 vehicles every day of the year, which they don't. Based upon the annual revenue of about $12,000 for the car wash, as advised by the owner, Jamie, the car wash averages about 4 cars per day. Next slide. Places with meters, we looked at, when we were looking at cost of water and sewer, whatever, we looked at several places with meters. One component was a fixed amount, basically to cover fixed cost. One component to cover water usage per cubic meter up to a set amount, and the rate also was based on the meter size. The rate increased after the minimum of water was used to discourage overuse. Next slide. The growth in Cobden, JP2G predicted that when they sized the new Cobden wastewater treatment plant, that Cobden would have 300 additional people by 2036. They predicted as well that the total flow to the wastewater treatment plant, including these additional 300 people, will be 983 cubic meters a day. Unfortunately, that's well over your 80% limit. JP2G environmental status report sized the plant to be adequate until 2036, yet the debenture won't be paid until 2051. Watson predicts 48 additional water users and 29 wastewater users by 2034. The growth study says that there will be additional residential units in Cobden between 2019 and 2039 of 177. Next slide. This is another issue that a cost-saving item, I guess, is more than anything. Cost of H2O membrane versus Suez. All these numbers are taxes extra. Cost of the H2O membrane in March 2024 was $667,000. Cost of the 184 Suez membranes in 2025 is $294,400. According to Watson, you're going to change it every 6 years. So over the life of the plant to 2051, you'd be changing it 4 times. Cost of 4 H2O membrane replacements in 2024 dollars is almost $2.7 million. All material needed if you're going to convert to Suez is approximately $500,000. Number of Suez membrane replacements guaranteed 10 years over the life of the plant is 2. Cost of 2 Suez replacements in 2025 dollars is $588,000. So right off the bat, you're going to save over $2 million in 2024 dollars. So to me, it's a no-brainer. But next slide. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about storm sewers here. I see there's a few storm sewers in town, but they don't seem to be put in every time you guys do a street. Alternative would be ditches instead of storm sewers. You need to find some place for people to send their sump pump water. Next slide. Issues that will affect rate, the settlement of the approximately, I think it's around $500,000 with baseline. I understand it went to arbitration, but it wasn't settled during arbitration, so I'm not sure what your next step is. Settlement of the non-authorized charges by JP2G of about $700,000. Settlement with JP2G of the extra cost Whitewater region will incur due to sole sourcing the H2O innovation membrane. And the other thing that should be looked at is how many field change orders should have been charged to JP2G, because they were all charged to Whitewater. Recommended rates for 2026 and actions going forward. Metered users, including the brewery. Rate for water and wastewater, use the minimum rate as residential. Usage over that should be billed at least at actual cost, $458 for water and $725 for wastewater. Funeral home should be put on metered rate immediately, in my opinion. He's been paying you guys way too much. Complete installation of meters on large water users in 2025. I think that's in the Watson report, or maybe it's 2026. Start installation of meters on medium users. Leave all other users in the same category as they were in 2025. Let users in Whitewater put in meters at their cost if they want, which was suggested in the Watson report. Investigate the cost of a different supplier for the membranes. That's a big cost item for the wastewater treatment plant. And the other thing I had is the wastewater from the water treatment plant used to go directly into the lake. Now, for some reason, it's being pumped into the wastewater treatment plant. I don't know if that's the Ministry of Environment requested that or what.
Time's up.
1 minute?
1 minute.
One last thing I have to say is, when I looked at the Watson report initially, I told Ivan that, in my opinion, I thought it was a very good report for $35,000. But as I looked at the details, I realized that if you guys had used Ivan and Kurt's experience and the staff, you could have done it for nothing. And used that $35,000 you spent to buy some water meters. Anyway, that's all I have. Thank you for listening.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Deere, for that, and a very detailed presentation. So I'll open it to members of council for questions or comments. And I see Councillor Trim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a clarification, through you, Mr. Mayor, to the presenter. I'm looking at the very last slide and the very last item H. Did you mean to say, why does stormwater?
No, there's they call it wastewater from the water treatment plant. Apparently there's up to 90 cubic meters a day in the wintertime that goes from the water treatment plants. What's this, a back flush or whatever from the system? It used to go back into the lake, but now I understand it goes to the wastewater treatment plant. If it does in fact go there, I'm wondering why it needs to when it used to go directly into the lake. That was in the ECA by JP2G, because that's what they stated. It's up to 90 cubic meters in the wintertime, goes to the wastewater treatment plant, and I guess it goes as low as 30. But that's, you know, say an average of 50 cubic meters a day going into the wastewater treatment plant that really doesn't need to go there, in my opinion.
Thank you. Excellent. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Olmsted.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Thanks to Mr. Deere, his continued effort into the water, wastewater. If I could just speak overall to the theme in the presentation of meters. I can say that as lead of the task force, that is one of the recommendations that the task force put forward, is to continue exploring the use and installing of meters. I can say that the township has made strides in exploring it. We're working with all ratepayers, including businesses. So we're looking at all avenues. We're really looking for a program that's fair and equitable to everybody. I've expressed previously, I do have experience in meters and owning property that went from to. It's certainly not the end all. It doesn't solve all the issues. It can be a fair and equitable solution, but in my experience, going from I don't know what to call the previous before meters in our neighboring town. I own properties in the neighboring town, and we were blessed with when our meters came in, we were paying about half of what I used to pay, which we thought was fantastic. And then the next year it went up over 400% because of some things that weren't thought of, like they were losing water in the distribution system, so seepage, old infrastructure. It doesn't take into account everything that you want it to take in. So while we'll continue, from a task force perspective, we'll continue down the avenue of exploring the most fair and equitable process. Meters can help, but it certainly doesn't solve all of the issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from members of council? Yes, Councillor Tabbert.
Yes, thank you. Through you. The metered water, or no, sorry. So am I to read this correctly? Where did I find it? Okay, so the funeral home pays two different prices because it has a residential and a business. Do all the businesses along Main Street, do we know if they pay two different prices? Because they have apartments above and they have the businesses below. Do we know? Like, and maybe not just Main Street, but any other businesses that have a residential component.
Good. I'll ask staff to respond, please.
Yeah, so any dual occupancy buildings or multi-occupancy buildings have a rate per unit. So if they have a commercial business in the bottom, they're getting a commercial rate, either the small commercial, which is equivalent to the residential rate, or medium commercial, whatever they're classified as for the business. And then however many residential units are above, they would get that same number of residential units of water. So if they have 2 residential units on the top of a building, they would have 2 residential units of water on the upper level and the commercial level at the bottom. So it can vary in number of units, but saying 1 above and 1 below, it'd be 1 and 1.
And the other question I have is, and I don't know if somebody can answer this, why does the funeral home, and I say that because I know that Mr. Huebner's here, and it was mentioned, why is a funeral home and a residential home, or his place of business and home, why is it paying more than the brewery? That I'm having a hard time with. I don't know if that can be answered or if it has to wait until later, but that just boggles my mind.
We're putting the staff on the spot here to confirm numbers that were presented in the delegation, but do you want to make comment on that at all?
You can make it not to speak to his billing specifically, because I don't want to be specific to one specific person, but if there are multi-units in a building, then there would be a multi-rate, same as other businesses. So you and I can chat offline about that part and just go through that side. And if he would like to be a part of it as well, that's fine.
Thank you very much.
Good. And Councillor Moore.
Keeping in mind with that conversation, some of these, not recommendations, but some of the previous billing, et cetera, was out of our hands. It's been billed like this for many, many years, and it's all coming to light now, which is a good thing because it should have been changed years ago, but it wasn't. So irregardless of what we're discussing today, we didn't implement it. It's been there, and it's part of our history. So now we're looking to make changes because we feel it's unfair. And with the task force and then council future budgets is where all this will be discussed. So mainly the main important thing now that is coming to the light is actually discussing it, which hasn't been really discussed before. And I know when the meter was installed many years ago, the CIO at the time refused to activate it. So now with the Watson report, et cetera, I think now would be the time to act on this and perhaps anything else that may be happening that hasn't come to light yet. We may not know all the facts for sure yet, but it would be nice with the change in some businesses, and I'm sure all businesses are the same. What the water they may have used years ago, they don't necessarily use now. And I think in light of the car wash, I know when you go to a bigger city, you have to hustle around your car so you don't use too much water on your $5 or whatever it is, and maybe this one, the time should be turned down if he's using too much water as well. There are ways around this, but it all has to come to light and we all have to discuss it. But right now, to go any further with meters, future meters, basically it's a budget item. Thank you.
And I notice we're not throwing a lot of questions at Mr. Deere, but this is okay. He's instigating an awful lot of discussion, so this is positive. Is there any other comments or questions from, and I'll come back to you, Mr. Deere. Is there any other comments or questions from council? Good. Any final comments from you, Mr. Deere?
Yeah, the 79, whatever it was on the water bill from the funeral home, I actually have a copy of it, so I know that's an exact number for this year. I mean, to me, if I was owner of the funeral home, I'd be seeing my lawyer. Toot swit. Anyway, thanks very much for your time.
Perfect. And thank you, as always, for the thoroughness and the detail that you provide council and staff on the things to do with the water and wastewater. I know you've been at it for a number of years, and I just want to recognize your continued effort, even though you're not a resident anymore. Thank you. Excellent. Good. Our next delegation to council, item number 6.2, is the tour to Whitewater update from Mr. John Purdon. And Mr. Purdon, the clerk will give you a heads up when we hit about 9-minute mark. Floor, as soon as we get the presentation up. CAO, sorry.
Super. So this is a part of an annual pilgrimage for me to come to council and confess all the sins that Tour de Whitewater has made in the previous year and what we're going to do this year coming. Click. The agenda, I'm just going to go over 2024, so tell you what we did last year, talk about 2025, talk about the Cycle Whitewater project, which I presented to the council before, where we're at with that. I need some help, so I'm going to ask for some help, and then just a Q&A. So I tend to go pretty fast. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to stop and ask me. Click. Yeah, that's good. So this is our annual number of riders that we have. The sort of the one in, I think it's 2019. I can't read it nor see it, but that was when we had free beer. Okay, so it's really pretty. It's really been pretty flat over the years, and we're not really looking at shattering any records this year at all. Click for me again, please. This is the demographics of the community that comes to ride. Gender is pretty much mixed or even if you want. Surprisingly, or I've always found it surprisingly, over 80% of the riders are over 50 years old, okay? And so this is a mature community. When you look at the actual routes they choose the 100K ride or one of the 50 or the 65. So they may be aging. However, they're able to ride quite well. So it's quite a good community. And in terms of people who come to this community, probably pretty good targets for somebody who might just think about coming to live here. Click, please. So in 2025, we currently have 200 registered. And while it's a little soft, people tend to wait for the weather report to come and whatnot before they actually do. So we'll end up getting 100 to 150 people in the last 2 weeks. Our volunteers are ready and waiting. Promotion has started. You've probably seen road signs. We have Facebook ads as going as well. I'll be doing interviews with my FM this week and Heritage Radio. Our facilities and supporting services are all set up. We also invited the brewery, and the O'Brien Winery to do tasting this year. Okay, not drinking, just tasting. And as long as we can work out the licensing issues, that'll actually happen. So I haven't promoted that yet, but we're very close to having that done. And we're targeting again around 400 riders. So again, we're not trying to shatter any records. In terms of who are the people behind Tour de Whitewater, I kind of stick handle a lot of things. I certainly take care of registration, promotion. Ron Moss and Eric Price are with Avocata. It's Ottawa Valley Cycle and something else association. They do the routes. They confer with the township to know that the roads are in good shape and safe and whatnot, and they chart all the different routes for us. Connie is she's good at resting, so as you all know, so she takes care of all our rest stations. She's also our Facebook maven and is our contact, sort of our official contact between ourselves and Whitewater region. And John Wheeler, he takes care of our sponsors and looking for donations for the group. We also have another 50 or more volunteers that make the event happen on the day of. And it's a pretty good event. Next slide, please. Yes, insurance is a big thing now. I guess I'm probably not telling you guys anything you don't know. But so when I was telling Stephanie about what we do to keep the event safe, it was quite an impressive list. We use Avocata again to chart our routes. We have caution signs. We have radio ads. We have St. John's Ambulance there during the event. And just a long list of things that we do to try and make this event as safe as we possibly can, because things can go off the rails if you want. Okay, that's it for 2025. Next slide, please. So for those who, I think the council remembers, we talked about Cycle Whitewater, which is where the Tour de Whitewater is trying to fund rest stations throughout the township to promote Whitewater region as a cycling destination. And we're very close to having our first rest station up. We've completed the design, and there should been a handout that went out to everybody about this, and obviously it didn't get there, so I'll trust somebody to send that out to you. But the Boyer Ladder Route Park rest station is in the process of being erected. The tech posts are in. My site manager, Joey Trim, has confirmed that the cement's been put in around them. The contractor was supposed to start on Monday, but because of the heat, decided to push it back a few days. But I would expect that by the end of next week, or very close to it, that structure should be up. It's about a 15 by 33 foot structure. There'll be 4 benches, there'll be 2 picnic tables. Building permit's been secured with Doug, our contractor again is engaged. It's Chad Moss from Cobden. He begins this week, I guess. When I made this presentation, I hadn't started, but anyway, and the wheelchair accessible picnic tables will be part of the venue as well. Okay, next slide, please. We believe at this time, and I'm just trying to keep my powder dry right now in terms of funding and whatnot, that we actually have enough dollars to put up a second shelter. It'll be a little bit little bit more conservative than the first one. It's a 15 by 10 foot structure. There'll be 2 benches. I'm just, again, trying to get this first one through and done and know that I can afford things and that there aren't any additional charges that I'm going to face. But if it looks right now like we'll be able to put that up, and right now that's going to be put at the WDRA Center in Westmeath, and I'm just waiting for them to tell me where they'd like to put it within the property. And so help, yes. So in each of these rest stations, there's going to be a big sort of a 4x4 placard, if you want, and we're putting a map on that to show people routes and also points of interest in the township and whatnot. And I believe there's a flatbed plotter around here somewhere, and I'm hoping someone knows how to use it. And if we can just work with that person, we'll do all the work. But we need to have that thing done. So I believe it's Lane, but I'm not 100% sure. So if I can get some help and direction on that, I would really, really appreciate it. And if there's maybe any information about points of interest, because I know all the ones I know, but I'm sure I don't know all the ones you know. And finally, Lane will probably have to work with WDRA to determine where in the property that they can put the thing, because there are probably some rules and things that has to be worked toward. So not a lot of help, but not help nonetheless that would be really be appreciated. Next slide. This wasn't on the agenda, but I just wanted to say thanks to the township. Thanks to Stephanie, who's been so helpful. Thanks for the grants in prior years that we've received. Support by the roads department to fix up roads, and support for us when we had the facility blocked off and whatnot. The Boyer Ladner matching funds they're going into effect now. Doug Schultz for all his help on the building permit that just went so smoothly. And I'm sure I'm missing somebody, and I apologize for that right now. But again, thanks to the township and everybody here who's supported the Tour de Whitewater over the years. I'm available for questions. So I'm under my 10 minutes. Nice.
You're under 9. It's awesome. Thank you so much, John, for everything that you're doing with this. It's really appreciated, and I know the community does appreciate it. So with that, we'll open it up for comments or questions. Any comments? Our rest station OPI? Councillor Tappert.
Yes, I used to participate in this event when it first started, and then I became a volunteer. And yeah, there is a lot of work that goes into it, and the cycling routes are wonderful. I know Lane makes sure the roads are in top condition. And I was excited to hear, because I haven't been to a committee meeting lately, that the structures are going up finally. I've been waiting for them, but I do have a question. And I know you know the answer. I am, but you know what? It's a very soft question. This is a whitewater cycling event, yes, right? And you're putting in, oh dear, what was that word? handicap tables.
Yes.
How many cyclists are handicapped that will use them?
Well, they are being built as cycling shelters, okay? But we're more than happy and believe that the community will be able to take advantage of these things. And so, actually, Stephanie she buys them 10 at a time, so she got a good deal. Not that they were cheap, but I just thought it was the right thing to do, okay?
Perfect, thank you. Yes,
Joey.
inclusivity. Councillor Trim.
Yes, and further to that, I was talking to John earlier. Kenny's store with ice cream is very close. And so there's going to be an awful lot of people that have some place to sit with their children in the shade. And so I'm thinking this park is going to be, in this particular location, is going to be used quite a bit. And I know that that's what they're trying to do, Mr. Mayor, is find other locations that will be used quite often by the community, not only the cycling community. And so very pleased about that. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Good. And his questions about access to the plotter, staff is tracking, we can link up with Mr. Purdon offline. Perfect. Any final comments?
I'm done.
Thank you so much for coming out today. Excellent. And that leads us into item 6.3, which is our third delegation. This is a Bona Vista Campground with a signage concern, and both are coming up. Mr. and Mrs. Siguen, is that correct? Perfect. So the mic just has to turn green, and you have 10 minutes. The clerk will give you a 9-minute warning. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for allowing us to speak today. My name is Bonnie Sege. This is my husband Dennis. Our son on the end is Justin, and our wonderful Bona Vista campers that decided that they wanted to come and support us today. So the reason why we're here today is we're here to ask you guys for some help. On Saturday, June 3rd, our neighbor, I'm going to leave their names out of it, decided to erect a very vulgar sign depicting several explicitive comments using the maple leaf and posted it on their fence facing our commercial campground, not the highway, but our private driveway commercial campground. A campground which is filled with tons of families with school-age children, our Canadian military, and families with varying religious beliefs. Campers, as well as their families and friends, have been extremely upset. We've received daily complaints, and once they heard of the lack of bylaw in Whitewater Township, several offers to tear it down, which obviously we won't let them do. We want to make this legal, and we want peace in our community. This sign doesn't just reflect poorly on us as a commercial business and a family park. It reflects poorly on our township employees, councillors, and our beautiful town as a whole. It makes me so angry. It makes me so upset that this is allowed to take place here. I searched on the internet for a Whitewater Region sign bylaw and couldn't find one. I had to reach out to Township to be told the only caveat for signage is in a Property Standards Act, which reads, and I will quote, page 8 of 4.15, signs shall be maintained in good repair and in safe manner. So I'm asking, what does safe manner mean? We are bringing not only a petition forward to you today, but several letters from our campers. We are asking that you amend and change the current Property Standards Act. Not only that, but we are asking but we also are looking to have this dealt with in a swift and timely manner prior to Canada Day celebrations honoring our Canadian military starting on the 26th. I have also provided you a copy of what our maple leaf stands for. peaceful and welcoming identity, national unity, historic, and it's historical for our military and our fallen soldiers. Imagine if it was you coming into my park for a beautiful celebration for Canada's birthday and to honor our military members, seeing the hundreds of Canadian flags draped along the highway, and then coming across this absolutely degrading and disgusting sign. Would that not make you angry? So in closing, I would like to just let you know what my interpretation of page 8 of 4.15 means. It can be construed, it has a gray area for me. With all the angry people that are coming in through our driveways that should be really happy on a daily basis, do you think that that sign is safe? That's all I have. And if I think I'm under 10 minutes.
No, you're under
Can I-
4.
I'm under 4. I'd like to read you a letter.
Yes, yeah, you have
So
time.
this is on the first page after the petition that I sent to all of you. It says, "To whom it may concern, we are writing as seasonal residents of Bona Vista Campground to express serious concern regarding a large sign that has recently been erected at the entrance to the park. The sign displays the word F off repeatedly in large, bold letters, which is both offensive and inappropriate for public-facing areas. This signage is not only highly disrespectful, but it also is deeply upsetting to residents, guests, and especially to the many young children who see it upon entering this park. My grandchildren, along with other children in the community, should not be subjected to such aggressive and explicit language in what is supposed to be a peaceful and family-oriented environment. Allowing signage like this to remain visible in a public-facing area sets a troubling precedent and negatively affects the entire community. As seasonal residents, we go there to relax and enjoy nature, not to be greeted by profanity and hostility. I respectfully urge this township to intervene and take appropriate steps to have this sign removed or addressed in accordance with any relevant bylaws regarding public decency, signage, or community standards. It fundamentally undermines the sense of safety and relaxation we expect when arriving at our park. Thank you for your time and attention to this matter. Sincerely, Colin and Sherry Meeks, campers."
Perfect. And just want to make sure that you're finished.
We're done.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate that. And with that, I'll open the floor up to council. Is there any comments? Councillor Trim.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. You have appointed me to be chairman of the Committee of Adjustment, which includes property standards. And I would be happy for our committee, as chair of the committee, I'd be happy if we were directed to investigate this, if it is part of our duties prerogative. I'm not sure because we're just getting this information now, but I do know that that's part of the committee, and so I'd leave it with you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Perfect. I'm just going to pause on that. We'll see if we can collect other comments or questions from other members of council, and we'll come back to you. Other members? Councillor Olmsted.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. To be honest with you, I'm offended by even a photo of this picture sitting here in front of me. So I can't imagine you people driving in and out of that campsite every day having a look at this thing. It's truly reprehensible, in my opinion. And I think, in the opinion of most sane people, that this is truly tough to look at. I know there's lots of families in there with kids. I know there's tons of kids in there using the pool and the activity area that you have. You've got Canada Day festivities. They're this weekend, I assume, yes, from what I heard from the presentation. I've attended the firemen's, I think it's the firemen's breakfast or emergency services breakfast that you have up there. So there are thousands of people literally in a summer that go in and out of that park. And this needs to be dealt with quickly, swiftly. And I'd like to see it dealt with before the Canada Day festivities this coming weekend. It has to be dealt with. Thank you.
Excellent. Any other comments from members of council or questions? Yeah, Deputy Mayor?
Thank you very much, and I do understand your frustration. It is absolutely, I agree with you 100%, and we've had a good conversation about this already. And my only concern with this is there is a truck that drives by my house with this very same sign on it, not day after day, but I've seen it often. And so I know it's more than just this one sign. They're out there. They're everywhere. And my concern is, how do we stop that? Like, is there a way of stopping that? I don't know. I don't know if there's an answer to that. I know in our own bylaws, perhaps we can, but we cannot stop anyone from using this same signage on someone driving by my house. Just my.
So I'm gonna treat that as a question so that Mrs. Sagan can comment.
Can I ask you what the sign says without using the expletives?
It is that exact sign, and it is a black truck. That's all I know.
And it says K and K on it too?
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, there's no K and K. It's just this sign. There is no, I do not know what K and K means or what that is.
According to the Renfrew OPP who spoke to the owners of this house, that's what they call my husband and I, Ken and Karen, is what it is. You know, don't be such a Karen. Is what it is. So it's not political in nature. It is not, it has nothing to do with the government. It has not, it's directly towards our campers, my husband and I, and anybody passing through those gates.
Is there any other comments or questions from members of council? And Councillor Tabbert and then Councillor Bell.
I look at this and like Councillor Regier here. Oh, sorry, Deputy Mayor Regier. I'm offended by it. I know the truck she's talking about. I've seen it. I had one person with a vehicle who lived just down the street from me who had the F Trudeau on it. So yes, I'm upset, but I can't control what my neighbor does. That's the unfortunate part. We can't start bubble wrapping everything. We can't bubble wrap this neighbor and we can't bubble wrap this neighbor. I understand it's a business. I also understand that you have a shared driveway. Maybe if you don't have a shared driveway? No, we don't. Okay, so how can I continue with this? Okay, so how does the person who lived there get into their property? Because
So MTO provided us with a letter saying that they said no to the sharing of a driveway and building of a home. When we were at last council meeting, this was discussed. The driveway belongs to us. We have been more than pleasant neighbors. We wouldn't block it if it wasn't necessary. We won't block it if the sign gets removed. We will be good neighbors for the rest of our days. All we want is peace in our campground. And and I should actually point out the fact that it goes without saying that if a sign as derogatory as this is allowed to be left up in our region, should be very careful that more of those don't pop up. Very careful, because that could happen. And I'm not saying, do you know what I'm saying? Like, do you get it?
And I'm with you on this. I'm going to ask you a question. You said that we but one of the ways is to change the wording on our bylaw, the property standards one. Do you have, if I may, do you have any wording that you would suggest? Because if this sign cannot just, or this bylaw cannot just be for your position right now, but it has to be for every resident within, any property owner within the township. So I mean, how are we going to stop people from expressing their opinions when our Canadian Constitution allows us to express our opinions. So I need help with this because
So how about derogatory and defamatory, offensive language
to you it's offensive?
to every one of us?
Well, obviously it's not to everyone because this person has put the sign up.
No, to everyone in our park.
Oh, you know, my suggestion, I'm serious, I'd love to change the bylaw. It's not gonna happen by the weekend. I mean, that's just not possible. My suggestion is to, well, that doesn't work either, because I was gonna say block off the driveway tour, but the sign will still be there. My lord, we are in a position here. I don't know.
Well,
See?
it goes right back to my question, which is, what does a safe manner? What is a safe manner? Because if you've got 300 or 400 or 500 guests this upcoming weekend angry, do you think that that sign is safe?
That was one thing I did think about, was how, if I would be very pissed off if I had to drive by this sign every day or even once a week, but I don't know what the solution for you, and I'm glad you brought it to our attention, and I'm hoping something can be done, because, and it's not just for you, but for every resident and visitor to our municipality. I mean, the signs, or that flag alone that the person drives around with, it upsets me. But I can't go and tell him you can't drive with that sign, because that's his prerogative. So I like the wording that you said about, what was the wording, safe and, or the derogative language. I like that wording, and maybe we can work with it. I don't know, but I can tell you it won't be done by the weekend. That's the unfortunate part. When did the sign go up? I'm sorry, June 3rd.
June 3rd.
June 3rd, yeah.
Our first warm weekend of the season,
Okay.
where all of our campers were there.
I'm just going to pause.
Yeah, I'm done, because I could ramble on about this because it is upsetting, but
So,
Come and just give Councillor Bell an opportunity to, and then we'll come back for a second round if there's others. Councillor Bell.
Sorry, was there something that you wanted to follow up with
well, she
first?
was just asking about verbiage for a potential sign. No sign, banner, display, or advertisement placed on the property may contain profane, vulgar, obscene, or otherwise offensive language, including but not limited to can't even pronounce, or slurs. This bylaw is in place to maintain a welcoming atmosphere for individuals and families of all ages, to uphold community standards of decency, and to ensure that public displays on the property reflect the values of respect and inclusivity.
I love it. Oops, I love it.
Good. Councillor Bell, floor is back to you.
So I have 3 questions. So one, just to clarify, this is the same property that came up at a previous meeting with
Yes, it was.
so it's a shared driveway, but not technically a shared driveway.
That's right.
That came up in the last meeting. Okay, just to confirm that. 2, the history of this sign going up, it went up on June 3rd. Was there any sort of dispute that initiated this, or was this something that just out of the blue one day, sign wasn't there one day, it was up the next day?
We were in our park with our family, actually, and my grandson, and started getting phone calls and people showing up on our lot saying they're actually on your property putting a sign up on their fence. They had it all covered, so we waited and we went up. So how this came to pass was we had to call the police. And the police, we were on the phone almost 9 hours. Over 7 calls to police in 9 hours. And at the end of it, police asked us to contact bylaw to help, which we did. We did on that Monday. And I've called counselors, and that's how I got to speak to the deputy mayor. And I spoke to Ivan, and I left messages everywhere I could. I called members of parliament. I called our lawyer. I've done it all.
And has there been any conversation with the owners of the property about the sign? Have you had any direct one-to-one conversation?
By law, because there's charges against them, they are not allowed to come within 100 yards of us. They are not allowed to have any conversations with us.
And sorry, that's over another dispute, or?
It's over 47 charges in 7 years.
Okay, fair enough. And then just to staff, I'm sure this probably hasn't been investigated yet. Bylaws in other communities relating to signs, public displays, verbiage that can be on those signs. I think it's not going to happen today, but an investigation as to what other communities have done to look into, because this isn't the first sign that's popped up that's offended somebody or been next to a business or neighbors that have offended others. So maybe just, I don't know what the right process for that would be, but an investigation as to what other communities, other municipalities do in regards to this, whether, because obviously if the OPP is directing them back to the municipality, this is obviously dealt with on a bylaw basis. So I'd be interested to know what bylaws are in the books in neighboring communities or communities throughout the province.
Good. CAO, can you, and I mean, he's been on the phone with the residents already about this, so what can you share with council about your investigation so far?
Yeah, so I think some municipalities in their practice with respect to signs, they have specific sign bylaws. So example, in my experience is in Clarence Rockland, they had a sign bylaw specific to signs on business properties. They could include permanent signs or temporary signs. They speak about sight lines for entrances, where the sign could be located, among other things, including explicit language, if you will, or distasteful signs. So a signs bylaw specific. Similarly, I think the town of Renfrew has a sign bylaw as well that would govern signs on business properties, whether permanent or temporary. If I could add a few points. So the property standards bylaw, which is what was referenced by Mrs. Signage, the spirit of that section of the bylaw and that bylaw is not to govern what's on the sign. It's primarily to govern that the spirit of it is to make sure the signs are in good repair. They're not falling down, they're not posing a risk to the public, and that. Not to say that at the discretion of council, amendments could be made to that bylaw to speak about language or distasteful stuff like that. So yeah, commonly in other municipalities and through the authority of the Municipal Act, we could adopt a sign bylaw specific, or we could choose to manage specifically the explicit language, if you will, for signs or flags or banners through our property standards bylaw. So those would be a couple options. If you will allow me, through you, the Mayor, to the presenters, I am reading through the emails, and it speaks a lot about safety and security. And just for clarity for the public watching and the people that are present, if there are other safety or security concerns that are not related to the sign, I just want to make sure that the OPP are available to support that. So just want to make sure that it speaks of safety to the user, safety to the residents, safety to the public. Like if it's not related to the sign, there are other mechanisms. It's not in this council chambers that we're going to manage those. I just want to make that clear. And then just for the members of council, I did connect with MLES, our Bylaw Enforcement Services. They did go meet with Mr. and Mrs. Signage relating to the sign. As I understand it, they did the same in the fall when the sign was first put up. The sign had been removed voluntarily by the neighbor, but again, this spring, the sign came back up. Now, they did go back to our bylaws and go back to the bylaw with respect to the property standards bylaw. They did review that provision that was referenced here, and in their interpretation, did not feel they could remove the sign based on the current language. So Carmen, our clerk, and I also reviewed it, and we're not seeing the strength of that provision. And again, safe, the term safe could be interpreted differently perhaps, but in our initial assessment, we did not see where that provision would allow us to legally remove the sign. So MLAS has been contacted, they have visited the site, so just wanted to provide some information with respect to that. Thanks so much.
If you don't have any follow-up, Councillor Bell, I do, and then I'll come back. I think the Deputy Mayor had some questions, but, and I apologize, you don't have to stay standing. If you do want to sit down, it's instigating lots of discussion, so it's valuable. CAO, can you make comment about any other instances where this type of language has been attempted to be addressed in other municipalities?
I think, in my experience, not directly. Where this language in sign bylaws typically stems from is with respect to in the past when there were, certain types of facilities where there was nudity and the like. So that is where this sign provision sort of stems from, because the public driving by these facilities, probably expressed to their councils that we got to stop this. But based on my past experience, that's where it stems from. I haven't had any direct experience where we've had to implement provisions from these explicit stuff in practice. Thanks.
Just one other thing, just again, it's kind of like a lessons learned, just a review for council. In the situation where we have to implement a bylaw, property standards, and there's a disagreement between MLES and the property owner over what the interpretation of that policy is, the steps that are involved in order to take that to fruition include going to court, correct? Can you just outline how that process is not as easy as just removing something?
So take, for example, a property standards issue with respect to garbage laying on somebody's property. The initial request from MLES is to make contact with the property owner, which often is a difficult task. The second one is to provide them an opportunity to provide for voluntary compliance. So could they remove the garbage at their discretion? They usually establish a timeline. And then when that is not complied with, in the case of derelict properties where there's garbage, MLES might find a contractor to go on the property, subject to their ability to do that under the bylaw, and have the site cleaned up at the cost of the property owner. So there is a time lapse with respect to that. Now, there are also mechanisms where you could apply for fines or orders under certain bylaws, which then would appear before the courts. Yes.
Perfect. And I just want to articulate that the procedures that we follow in the implementation of a bylaw, enforcing a bylaw, it has to be dealt with in a very specific fashion so that if it does escalate to a court situation, the procedure we followed is going to be seen as correct by the courts. Is that correct? Can you clarify?
I think that's fair. I think the actions taken in order to implement or enforce the specific bylaw, will be reviewed by the judge in the spectrum of the courts. And if the steps, if you did not afford the resident or business owner sufficient time to address the issue, they might find that the municipality or the person making the charges did not afford enough opportunity for them to correct it, and might settle against the municipality, if you will. Yeah.
All this to display that it is a cumbersome process, not to avoid doing it, but it has to be done properly and correctly, and we have to make sure that we can effectively implement it. So I'm going to go back to questions. First, the Deputy Mayor had your, no, you're good. Councillor Tabbert?
You think I would know the answer to this, but is it possible to pass a motion saying that we want the sign removed now, or because of Canada Day coming up? I don't know if we can pass a motion today and enforce it right away. You'd think I would know the answer to that, but I don't.
Can I ask the clerk or the CEO to clarify?
I think that I'm not sure that moving a motion would initiate that. The natural process that would be applied here is you would seek to amend the bylaw to essentially make the sign not be allowed. That, by adopting that amendment to the bylaw, would then would provide the municipality, not staff, not council, the municipality, our corporation, the ability legally to go remove that sign. And I caution council, and I'll speak, in a public spectrum here, that a motion by itself would not, might bring risk to the municipality. And again, I'm speaking I haven't investigated this with any legal support, but it might bring risk to the corporation if we're just moving motions to enact directions. But I think if there was a bylaw in place that we could enforce and administer, I think that would be the best approach. Thanks.
So clear for you? Emotional response, it would do nothing. It would be nothing but hot air, is essentially what the CAO said. Good. Any other final? Okay. This is a very valuable afternoon. Councillor Olmsted, then Councillor Bell, and then finally Councillor Trim.
So how long does it take to adopt or amend a bylaw within property standards to say that no sign shall have profanity, either explicit or implied? How long a process is that?
And again, as if you're asking through the mayor, back to you, Councillor Olmsted. At the discretion of council, in this case, you'd have to pass a motion seeking to amend the bylaw. And there's a bylaw section later on in today's agenda, and there's a notice of motion section. And if you adopt the resolution with 2/3 vote, which is against the procedural bylaw, ultimately you could probably achieve that relatively quickly. We could work on language if we have a break and the like. So yeah, can we achieve that today? Not following the procedural bylaw? Perhaps we could achieve that today. But if I could, for clarity, the notice of motion, and through you, if you could clarify the clerk, the motion pertaining to that should occur at the notice of motion section. Maybe you can clarify, Clerk Miller?
That's correct. So so you would have to, yeah. And then we could bring up a notice of motion, but the notice of motion is not going to amend the bylaw. We would have to bring an amended bylaw back.
If I may. And that will be at the next council meeting, if it gets on the agenda?
Yes? Yeah, we can probably, July 9th? There's no way I can do it for John. I can't. I'll talk it over with the CAO.
So again, just the complexity we're having is the regular process. So what we want to explain to you maybe is the regular process would be you would move a notice of motion under our notice of motion section. Commonly, you would express to the members of council that you're proposing a motion. At the next meeting, you formalize the motion, and we prepare it, together with the clerk, what that motion reads. And in fact, you could also prepare the amendment to the bylaw. At the next meeting, which is scheduled for July 9th, then the council as a whole would sort of deliberate and debate that notice of motion. So that would be the common practice, yeah.
And that's the quickest process?
I would say, I would think so. Now, again, if I could, through you, the mayor, if there is a break before the sections of notice of motion, I could confer back with our clerk to see if there's a different process that could be quicker. But at the present moment, that's the process.
For that, please and thank you.
Noted. And just one moment, sorry. Just so the public knows why the procedural bylaw includes that delay is to make sure that the public, and not just the public in the room at the moment of a presentation, has the opportunity to provide their input. Everyone in the community has the ability or the right to be able to offer their input to council before they make a decision. When we supersede that right, we're taking it away from those people. So that's why the process exists. We just have to be cognizant, we're responsible to consider that in our deliberations. Okay, so noted. I'm going to come back to both of you, but I'll come back if there was a comment or question in response.
Yeah, so I have two things. The first thing is, you're right, bylaw was in, and they instructed the neighbors to remove that sign in November, which they did. So what's different now? I'll have you answer that one first.
Sorry, and I know because we've spoke about this, is they voluntarily removed it. Bylaw only spoke with them and they voluntarily removed it.
So they were threatening to fine them and then they removed them because of the fines.
There was no ability to find them at the.
Unfortunately,
CO.
bylaw is not here to defend or, go at any of this stuff. So that's fine. We'll have to go through bylaw for that part of it. And the second one, so in the history of this council, has nothing ever been done that quickly to remove something that offensive? So I can go and put those words across my 150 feet of fence and just lay it out there. And there would nothing be done. Direct question to you.
Right now, there isn't, no.
Okay.
But I don't know of all of the other regulations that might apply with respect to the other orders, other levels of government, so.
It's time to
what you-
dig, unfortunately, because
sorry?
we got to dig deep for this one. Because this, basically, you're taking what they've used for the truckers convoy, they're looking at putting the symbol of the maple leaf in the middle of the F word, which is, I don't know, it hurts me inside to even think about this. And these people are allowed to do this sort of thing. Like, where's it going to end? I don't get it.
No, and we take that aboard. We're not in favor of this. You've heard council talk about how offensive it is. We just have to find the right lever to be able to pull to make sure that it doesn't, we don't order it down and it comes up the next day and we can't do anything about it. So we want to make sure that what we put in place applies, not just in your case, but in the case of all the 7,500 people that live here and the circumstances that might also arise for them. So don't look at it as we're not in support of your situation, but we're trying to make sure that we find the best long-term solution for it. And
I'm sure it's a cut and paste across thousands of regions across this country
Yeah.
that would do the exact same things what we're doing right now against what's basically desecrated the maple leaf.
Point taken. Now, good. I have to come back to Councillor Bell. You had your hand up earlier, and then Councillor Trim.
Sorry, again, it's just a point of clarification, but the house that erected this sign, I'm just looking at Google Maps right now. When you turn into your campground, it's right at the left, right after the highway.
So no, it's partially down the driveway where it's more towards our park. You can't see it from the highway. You can only see it from our roadway when you're down about, 200 feet?
At least, yeah.
Yeah, so 200 feet off the highway.
Yep.
They've erected a fence basically bordering your driveway and their house. And they've hung it on the outside of the fence. I just wanted
Yes.
a point of clarification on that, just because. Yep.
And last question, Councillor Trim.
Yes, and I know the answer to this. It's obvious that since the OPP were involved, that this doesn't meet the threshold of hate speech. Because I know there is federal law with respect to hate speech. And you've been dealing with lawyers and the OPP, and so that's not considered, am I correct? That's not considered to be hate speech.
Term that you just used, because we've never heard it, and we will definitely be calling the OPP and using that direct term with them, because that never came up. We've had a restraining order against the people, the residents of that compound, have it the way it is, since 2023. They have in fact breached that 30 times, at the very least in the last year and a half. Even them stepping, they've had the fence built right on the property line. So even somebody with a size 6 foot standing attached to the fence is all of a sudden trespassing. So there's all kinds of things that are at play here. And unfortunately, they're just laughing at laws and rules and councils, and they're walking right through stuff. They just think that they can be lawless. And we're not the country that allows lawlessness. I don't understand why we're having such a hard time with this.
If I just may, if you could have a little patience with us and sympathy for us, we don't, usually there's a problem before, and it's got to be a serious problem. We got to think it's going to be widespread before we start making bylaws. We don't make them ahead of time. We can't anticipate what the problem's going to be. And we don't want to have just a whole pile of bylaws that nobody's respecting. So I'm hoping that you got from the mayor and from our CEO and the clerk that this is when we do a bylaw, it's something serious. And I'm hoping that you can be patient with us. And we're not disregarding in any way your concerns. They're real, and hopefully we can get something done. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I would have to agree. I would.
So the very last thing I do want a response to, or an explanation to what safe manner means. What does safe manner mean?
I mean, certainly we could correspond to you, Bonnie, following today's session, as it pertains to the interpretation from MLES and the township with respect to safe. I don't have the bylaw in front of me at the present moment. Maybe there's a definition in there. I'm not sure that there is, but I would have to revert back to the bylaw to verify. However, wherever it's used and how it's being used in the context of the bylaw to better understand how it's being interpreted, but we could share that with you in writing by email, certainly.
I would respectfully like that, because when I did look up the bylaw for signage, if you check your Whitewater Region bylaw, you're going to come up with a whole lot on your actual Whitewater signage and nothing for anything else, right? So why was regular signs or any sign bylaw left out of the mix, but the Whitewater Region, your Whitewater Region sign, there's 25 things on Google about it and about the colors. It has everything. It's outlined so clear. So I'd like that answered as well when you respond with what safe manner means to me. Thank you.
Perfect. And with that, and I apologize, there's no questions allowed from the audience in a delegation. So I know that Councillor Olmsted may have some initiatives that we'll see later on in the agenda, and we will take a short recess before that, so you have a chance to gather your thoughts before we speak to it in the notice of motion section. Good. And with that, we're going to conclude. Thank you so much for bringing it to our attention today. Excellent. Okay, our next item on the agenda, 6.4, is a public meeting. And this has to do with a zoning bylaw amendment for D10 264 Morton Street. And what we'll do is we're going to pause our council meeting, just allow everybody to step out. I think you should, yeah. Good. So just for the public that might still be watching, we are going to pause the regular council meeting at this point in time and convene a public meeting to discuss this item. And with that, I'll say, and just before we declare it convened, I'm just going to note that Councillor Olmsted is declaring on this item as well. So in addition to 10.1, he's declaring on 6.4 as directly pertains to him personally. So the public meeting is now convened at 3:55 p.m. to hear comments and receive information from the public regarding a proposed application to amend the Township of Whitewater Region zoning bylaw in accordance with the Planning Act. Excellent. And with that, I will hand it over to our CAO.
Yeah, thanks so much. So we have this afternoon a public meeting with respect to a zoning amendment. This zoning amendment is a result of a severance application, and I'll walk members through my staff report. The present application pertains to is the result of a severance application, and I'll share with you the sketch here. What you'll see here in blue is what is the current commercial business known as Home Hardware. What is in red is the severed parcel. This red portion is going to be added to the blue. Red added to blue. And the green is going to be retained separately for future use. So this property line that you see here will ultimately be removed, and red will become blue. Now the complexity here, while it is not a huge complexity, is the red property is in a rural zone, and the blue property is in a general commercial zone. So there's an inconsistency in zoning categories, and the present application is merely to rezone the red property from rural to general commercial. That application is consistent with the provincial policy statement, consistent with the official plan of the County of Renfrew, and consistent with our local zoning bylaw. So The intended development of the red portion will ultimately be the extension of the building supply store. I will note that the property in blue currently has a site plan agreement on it, registered against title. So it basically governs the development of that blue property. When red gets developed, the site plan agreement will need to be amended to include whatever gets developed on the red property, whether it's additional shelter, storage space, but that agreement will ultimately need to be amended in the future. If you'll allow me, that concludes the presentation on the zoning amendment. What I will highlight, though, for the members of council, since I have the sketch in front of me, is later in the agenda, there's a bylaw that is called a deeming bylaw. A deeming bylaw essentially removes lands from an old plan of subdivision. So the property in red here, it actually is part of one of the original plans of subdivision from Cobden, dating back to the late 1800s, early 1900s. We're talking 1919-ish. When Cobden was created, if you will, or originally developed on a plan. So what happens is, in order to merge these two properties, you need to deem that the lots from the red property are no longer in the plan of subdivision, remove the subdivision so that they could merge together. So there's a bylaw later on in the agenda. So one bylaw is to amend the zoning. The second bylaw is a deeming bylaw to remove the lots in the red from the old plan of subdivision to ultimately allow the lawyer to merge the two properties together. That's it. Thanks so much.
Good. Thank you for that summary. And with that, we'll open it up to the public. Is there any member of the public who'd like to make comment on this item? And I see no interest from the three members of the public that we have here. I'm going to ask the clerk, was there anything provided in writing from any member of the community?
Nothing received.
And is there anyone wishing to make comment virtually?
None. Sorry, thanks.
Okay, so there is no public comment, and with that, I'll open it up to council. Is there any questions or comments from members of council? Councillor Moore.
Just to confirm that we are going to retain the unopened road allowance attached to that properties?
Yes, that's correct. The unopened road allowance is unaffected by any of these applications.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good, so noted. Any other questions or comments from members of council? Okay, seeing none, I just will recognize that this is not the portion of the agenda where we actually vote. This is the public meeting portion of it, just where we accept public input into our decision-making process. We have that now, so we will now adjourn our public meeting at 3:59 p.m. and move on to the next item on our agenda. The next item is item number 7, which is the public meeting, which I think is just a typo from the clerk. That was what we just held. Next is the mayor's address. And I have a short, oh, sorry, we'll get, Councillor Olmsted thinks he can get away. He's coming, okay. I'll start without him. Oh, there he is. So perfect. Mayor's address. Since our last council meeting on June 4th, I've attended 7 meetings and events on behalf of council. I missed an event that I had, I believe Councillor Moore filled in for me at the, or Councillor Olmsted did. Both of you were there at the McLaren Works open house. I also attended a county council meeting on June 12th and a County of Renfrew forestry tour with Councillor Tabbert on June 10th. Some highlights for council and our community. We had a first great meeting with our MPP, Billy Deneau, and it gave us an opportunity to review our advocacy list. And I used the same advocacy list that the CAO had presented in preparation for our AMO delegations. We reviewed things like the community growth opportunity, potential with respect to the Teminko mine site, the opportunities for business retention and growth, and of course, the affordability challenges we're facing not only with our water and wastewater rates, but also with our asset lifecycle management. So a great discussion full of very dire situations, but a good discussion that was hoisted aboard by the MPP, and we will continue to advocate for our needs. We're just waiting to hear back from AMO now as to which delegations we will be awarded. And then based on that, we'll make a plan for the fall with the MPP to potentially go and have meetings with members of parliament or members of provincial parliament if possible. I wanted to highlight again some themes for the month of June. So first, I just wanted to say again that it is Pride Month, and Whitewater Region acknowledges and honors the resiliency, the diversity and contributions of all of our LGBTQ plus community members. Inclusivity and equality are values that strengthen our community, and we remain committed to fostering a safe and welcoming environment for everyone, no matter their gender identity or sexual orientation. So June is also Seniors Month here in Ontario, a time to celebrate the invaluable contributions, wisdom, and experiences of our older adults in our community. We thank them for everything they have done to help shape our communities. It's also Recreation and Parks Month, and here in Whitewater Region, we recognize the importance of recreation for all of our residents. From our local parks and trails to our sports league and community events, we encourage everyone to get outside, explore our parks, and take advantage of our recreational programs. And if you're visiting, please spend money while you're here. Good. Last one I'll recognize is Men's Health Month, a crucial time to highlight not only the physical wellness, but also the importance of mental and emotional health. And we encourage all men to take proactive steps in caring for their mental health, whether through seeking professional guidance, engaging in self-care practices, or simply having honest discussions with friends and family. And finally, I just want to recognize the efforts of our staff to maintain operations through our recent computer outages. As much as I have enjoyed a reprise from emails, it was great to see almost all of our day-to-day business continue without interruption. Thank you, and thanks to the community for their patience through this period. So that ends my mayor's report. Is there any comments or questions in there? And Councillor Tabbert, maybe you can talk about the forestry tour a little bit. I left room if you wanted to, during announcements, if that's okay. Yeah, I'll give you time to take your notes. Any other questions, comments? Good. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is 9, and then I'll propose that we take a short break at that point, if that's okay. Number 9 is public comments, and today we have a public comment that has been registered with the clerk, and I'll just remind council and those members of the community that might be watching, public comments is an opportunity for a member of a resident, a member of our community, to give us a 3-minute highlight of something that they want us to consider with respect to something that appears on the agenda that day. So this is again our ability, it's the ability to ensure that we have input from our community members before we deliberate and make a decision on an item. Good. So clerk, can you introduce our public speaker and just the topic that he's going to be presenting on?
So today we have Wayne Hebner. He's the owner of the funeral home here in Cobden, and he will be discussing regarding item 6.1, the wastewater meters. Wayne, do you want to come up? That's perfect.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Hebner.
I want to give you a little history of the funeral home first. Next year we will be celebrating 150 years, 1876 to 2026. I'm the 3rd family but the 4th owner. Whitewater has everything here, including a funeral home. I sit on the provincial committees. In Ontario last year we lost 7 small town funeral homes. And I've been privileged to serve the people here for 46 years. The sad thing is it went by in a heartbeat. In the course of a 12-month year, we do about 60 funerals a year. Now, my concern is numbers versus revenue. We did, from January 1st till now, to date, we've done 31 funerals. 13 families used the funeral home out of 31. That's not even half. But as Mr. Deere, I pay $1,319.80 every other month now. I pay the same rate for Betty and I upstairs as a house, a complete house. We have one line coming in and one line going out. I pay $791.92 commercial, which brings the two added together to $1319.80. I was a little surprised how many here read the actual Watson report. I did. Took me almost 2 weeks because some of it's worse than the Bible. It is pretty dry and you don't understand, but I highlight a lot. And doing the math, I'm pleased to hear the council is going to look into these rates because it's horrendous. When I talk to my counterparts in Ontario, they go, "You got to be nuts. You're bullshitting me." That's exactly what they say. Sorry, but I'm not. I pay that. Nobody could believe that. But the water rates, and I know we have to pay for the things and we have to do things. But the last few years, more people are going to cremation, direct graveside funerals, no funeral home. But I still pay whether you use the building or not. I asked in 2017 to put a meter in. CAO Trombley said no. And but I went ahead and put it in. And Dean said to me, one time I met him in the street, he said, "You may be sorry, Wayne." I was sorry. I pay for 70,000 gallons of water, but use 20. And that shocked me too. I thought I used a lot more water. But like I said, more, and that was back in 2017. We're using even less now. Because, I mean, trends are changing. And, you know, I'm privileged, pleased to say we probably do about 60% of Whitewater region. We don't get it all, but I will stay to the 150 years, but the funeral home in Cobham will be closing. I don't know when. I hope I'm not the last owner, but my numbers are limited now because I've already had, I'm 55 years this year in funeral service, and the numbers are against me. There's more in the rear view than the front view. Anyways, I don't have a lot more to say. It's just I was surprised to find out that I pay more than the brewery. They use the toilets there more in a weekend than we do in a whole year. When you consider 13 families since January, it's not a lot of people. A few years ago, I had, at that time, was my deputy chief was running for council and for mayor. So Mike worked the door for a couple of months, and even he came to me and said, four people use the bathroom, and 2 to 4 and 7 to 9. 4 people. Most people come to the funeral home, they do not use the washrooms, and families don't. Anyways, okay, Carmen? Just press that button. Jeez, that is.
Thank you, Mr. Huebner. And I'll just remind, public comments don't allow discussion or debate by members of council. It's limited to 3 minutes. I've offered to Mr. Huebner if he wanted to meet and go through any of those details or talk in more with more time, that we can make that work. So please reach out if that's something you want to do. Excellent. And with that, we're going to take a short recess, and we'll come back here in 10 minutes. And welcome back to the Township of Whitewater Region's regular council meeting for Tuesday, June 24th. It's 4:17. We'll call ourselves back to order. We just paused after item 9 in the agenda, so we're at item number 10, which is the reports. We only have a single report today. It's relating to the public meeting that we did at item 6.4. It's a zoning bylaw amendment, and we recognize that Councillor Olmsted has already declared on this item, and he is leaving the room. The recommendation is that the Council of Township of Whitewater Region approve an amendment to Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw number 24-01-1655 for the property described part of Block G on Plan 86, Morton Street, from rural to general commercial zone. A mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Trim, seconded by Councillor Bell. I know we've heard already from staff on this as part of the public meeting, but I'll afford them the opportunity if they want to add anything at this point in time.
Nothing to add, thanks.
Excellent. Then I'll go to my mover, Councillor Trim. Any questions or comments?
No, thank you.
Councillor Bell.
I just want to say a great report coming from our planner and standing here at the moment. It's great.
Thank you for that. We just take a pause for a second, reflect, and thank the CAO for his work. Appreciate that, Councillor Bell. Any other comments or questions from members of council on the left side here? I see none. With that, we call for the vote. All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Good. Councillor Trim, could you bang on the door for Councillor Olmsted to come in? Or thank you, CAO. Next item is number 11, a notice of motions. And before I look to the floor for notices from council, I'll just note, sorry, I'm not going to, the clerk is going to note what we have outstanding at this point in time.
I am going to be adding them to the agenda now. So as you can see, we have 2 pending from Councillor Moore, one about Watchhorn Drive and the lock trucks, and the other one's the Beachburg water main breaks.
Excellent. Thank you, clerk. And with that, I'll look to the floor for notices of motion. Is there any notices from any member of council? Yes, Councillor Olmsted.
Based on my previous comments, I'm going to defer and take this offline versus the notice of motion.
So just to confirm, the comments you made during the public delegation, you want to follow up offline with those before you put a motion on the floor?
Yeah, I want to do a little more investigating into what the sign can be deemed, what the offensive sign can be deemed as.
Okay. And sorry, and I don't mean to, I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I just want to confirm, I don't think there's any harm in putting a notice on the floor now for a motion that could follow on the 9th, if that's something you wanted to do.
Perfect. I would like to do that as well then.
Excellent. So it puts it on the floor. A motion could be coming. You can always withdraw it.
Yep.
A motion could be coming for the 9th of July.
Perfect.
Excellent. Good. Any other notices that any member of council would like to put on the floor? Excellent. I see no other motions. Next item on the agenda is correspondence. There's only one item that requires direction, and this is about waiving penalties and interest on tax and water accounts. The recommendation is that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region delegate authority to the CAO and Treasurer to waive penalty and interest charges on property taxes and water accounts when deemed appropriate in accordance with Section 2 of Bylaw 2502-1747 Utility Billing and Collection Policy and Section 2 of Bylaw 2502-1748 Tax Billing and Collection Policy, and at their discretion. A mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Olmsted and seconded by Councillor Tabbert. Excellent. CAO, if you can introduce it, please.
Yeah, thanks so much. So what we have before council is just a quick resolution against 2 of our policies. So policies are intended to provide sort of the black and white direction to staff from the members of council. In this case, it pertains to waiving penalties and interest on our tax and water accounts. As council will be well aware, we did have some computer system outages over the last 2 or 3 weeks, the result of which we are still reconciling payments that were made through those 2 weeks, which might have delayed some payments or maybe as we work through that, we might realize that in good faith, residents made payments and there was interest charged. So what we're seeking from the members of council is a simple resolution with respect to the computer system outages to allow for, at the discretion of the CAO and treasurer together, that we would waive any penalties or fees during that outage period. So it's specific to that outage period and not moving forward. But would you add anything else, Treasurer McGonigal, or does that pretty well sum it up?
That's a fantastic synopsis.
Thanks so much. So this is messaging that we did provide to the public under the advisement of legal, that we would waive these penalties and interest costs as a result of the situation. So just looking for council's support with respect to that. Thanks so much.
Excellent. So we can add treasurer to your list of qualifications and skills at this point. Thank you. Joking aside, is there any, sorry, I'll go to my mover first. Councillor Olmsted, any comments, questions on the motion?
No, I'm clear. Thank you.
Good. Councillor Tabbert, seconder.
I'd just like to say thank you for bringing this forward. I think it's important to our residents to understand that we do have problems once in a while, and they shouldn't be penalized for that. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Councillor Trim?
Yes, I'm definitely going to move in favor of this. I just don't see anywhere in the motion where this is specific to what just happened. Maybe I'm not reading it correctly or don't understand it correctly, but we've been told it's specific for the problem we had, and I don't see that in the motion.
Yeah, good catch. CAO, can you comment, please?
Yeah, if we could have just a friendly amendment with respect to the incident in June 2025, that would summarize it in there. Recognizing that the resolution is not amending the policy. This is not changing the policy itself. It's just a resolution. So if we were faced with it in the future, we have an obligation to council to follow the policy. But again, if we could just add at your discretion, Clerk Miller, and through you, the Mayor, for the incident through the month of June 2025. Thanks so much.
Good. Amended. Friendly amendment. So I'm looking, Councillor Olmsted and Councillor Tabbert, are you good with that friendly amendment?
Yes, I am.
Yeah?
Have to approve?
No, you don't have to. That's your...
I don't mind doing that, but they'd have to come back every single time for something that they deemed appropriate. So I'm just wondering if we're adding that in, then they'd have to come back every single time that they deemed appropriate during a fiasco, you might say?
So if I can clarify, perhaps we choose to amend the policy later in the year as part of the budget deliberations. I think that's something that we'll examine on an annual basis. So leave it with us. We'll examine it, whether or not we should have that discretionary opportunities in the future, but we would have to come back with an amended policy. We will report any implementation of this through the quarterly report. So when you get quarterly report Q2, March, April, May, Q3, you're going to see a summary of what was deferred. Thanks.
Thank you.
You're good with the friendly amendment then?
I'm good with the amendment.
Good. So just to recognize you're not, this direction is giving them the ability to waive it on a specific instance, but they could come back with a policy change to reflect what you had asked about. Excellent. So it is so amended, and I'll take, sorry, Clerk?
Sorry, Councillor Morrison.
Yeah, so more questions. Councillor Morton.
Just wondering if the dates of the computer outage and startup again should be listed so that there's no misconstrued that it could be for this council or this money-paying year. We're only talking a couple of weeks, right?
We are, but by the language that he put in there with June in the year of 2025, specific to the outage, it is constrained, but it also allows for if something only appears on their radar in July, they could come back and repair it. So I think the language allows for that to happen.
Okay,
Fair?
thank you.
Good. Good. I'm getting the nod. Any other questions from members of council? I think this is, I'll echo Councillor Tabbert's comments. I think this is a great way for us to be able to recognize the imposition, but also realize that there may be cases where we want it to be automatically delegated, and we can look at those in the future in order to allow for very speedy response by staff in certain circumstances. Good. With that, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Good. Next item is 13 announcements, and we'll start with the Deputy Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I just have I have one here. We are pleased to acknowledge the recent filling of our summer employment positions here at the Township of Whitewater Region. Most of these positions began in early May and will end in late August. And they are Colton Prinz, that is joined the roads, Kyle Webster Roads, Brent Reddy, Parks and Recreation, Matthew Reese, Parks and Recreation, Parker Dawson Pilo, Parks and Recreation, Riley LaRiviere, Community Development, Hillary Bennett, Environmental, and Katie Mick, Corporate Services and Tourism. And they are our summer students, and please join them in welcoming them. And if you see them out and about, say hi and let them know who you are. Thank you very much, Mayor. That's everything I have.
Good, thank you. And Councillor Bell.
Nothing from me.
Councillor Tabbert.
Yes, I have a few here. This Thursday, Wilderness Tours will be celebrating its 50th year with a celebration in the afternoon that goes into the evening. On June 28th, Kay Coleman's Garage in Foresters Falls is celebrating its 75th anniversary, and the owners are holding a lunch barbecue. And of course, on July 1st, we have Canada Day in Foresters Falls with a parade at 4 p.m. and downtown Foresters Falls, and then at 5 p.m. the events continue down at the Ball Diamond. Just remember, there is a detour in place, so you can't just walk across the bridge. Cobden, they're having a bike stroll and walk to the Cobden Legion from Crescent Care at 11:30 with hot dogs and other goodies afterwards. And just personally, like the mayor said earlier, I had gone on this forestry tour organized by the county, and we visited Roseburg MDF plant. It's very interesting to go in there, but very noisy. So I've never been in it. Part of it was shut down, so we didn't get to see all of it, but it's very, I don't know. The Beachburg Forestry Tract, this is close to my heart because I walk in that forest almost every single day. We went in and they spoke about, I don't know if people notice it, but it looks like the very front of it along Government Road, looks like it's been clear cut, and really it hasn't been, but you'd think so, but that's because it hasn't been taken care of properly in over the past many years, and now they're playing catch up, and they will be doing that in another section of it as well. But currently they are doing some more cleanup of cutting down some of those pine trees, and I can't stress enough that it's important to stay off those closed trails. We saw the feller buncher at work. It's a huge machine, and it grabs onto the tree, cuts it down, lets it fall, slims the branches off of it, and away, you know, I mean, it happens so quickly. I mean, they can guide that tree just to wherever they want it. It was amazing to see Andrew operate the machine. And yes, there were a lot of bugs that day. And then we ended up at Heidemann Sawmill outside of Eganville. It was nice to see how the wood goes from, you know, you bring it in to what they do to it and ship it out. Nothing is wasted. They've even started a new program there with some of the wood because it's no longer viable. But instead of just tossing it out or making sawdust, they are making something with it. Now, don't let me get technical here because I don't know it all, but you know, it's nice to see that none of it's being wasted. So yeah, that's all I have to report.
Excellent, thank you. Very good summary. Councillor Olmsted.
Well, I have 15 items, but I'm going to narrow it down to just 2 or 3. Councillor Moore and I attended the McLaren Works grand opening on Friday. Very well attended, did a ribbon cutting. Nice to see that business continue on in our township. And it looks like they've got a great young staff, lots of new young people hired, lots of technical expertise there. Lots of people coming in from other townships actually working there. So good luck to them. And from what I hear, They've got lots of the robots already in play and going to go into some new barns, and so it's very exciting what they have in play. And I fully intend on attending Wilderness Tour's 50th anniversary this coming Thursday as well. And lastly, just want to wish everybody a happy Canada Day, July 1st. Thank you.
Councillor Moore.
Just one thing. I have the annual general meeting about our river power on the 26th. And also, I wish everyone a happy Canada Day and see you all at the Beachburg Fair. Thank you.
Councillor Trim.
Sorry. I also will be attending the Wilderness Tours 50th anniversary, and also check our municipal calendar for the events for July 1st in Westmeath. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Sorry, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. There is one that I did forget also, and Councillor Moore reminded me of it. I will be attending the Ottawa River Energy Solutions General Meeting on Thursday that will be held in Pembroke at the Inn, Best Western Inn. So both Councillor Moore and I will be attending that event there. Thank you.
Perfect. And I'll just conclude and say Happy Canada Day. I will not be here. I am taking my parents to PEI. So please celebrate in my absence, enjoy, and we'll see you when I get back. Good. Next item on the agenda is number 14, which is our bylaws. And there's just a slight amendment. I shouldn't say that amendment. A friendly amendment that the clerk is going to make.
If we can get a mover first. Do you want to get a mover first?
Yes, I can. So Oh, and we recognize Councillor Olmsted is going to excuse himself because of declaration on 10.1. There are 3 in front of me on the agenda. The recommendation is that be it resolved the bylaws listed on the June 24th, 2025 agenda be taken as read and passed. A mover and a seconder, please. Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Trim. And just before we discuss that, the clerk would like to make a friendly amendment.
Yeah, just for the sake of numbering, the deeming bylaw, because it was draft when I put it on the agenda, I'd like to name it 1776, which will change the confirmatory to 1777. So just a few, all the documentation, all the wording will stay the same. I just want to make sure that it's all in numerical order.
And our mover is good with that? Yes. And seconder? Excellent. Any final questions or comments on any of those? Yes, Councillor Moore.
Just wondering why we have the name listed there and it shouldn't, why wouldn't it be the present name? If everything changed hands, did then documents not get changed because there were separate properties or what? I'm confused at the AA Schauer and Sons.
Yeah, so the properties are still held by AA Schauer and Sons.
Okay, it didn't change then with the sale of the property?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, CAO. Any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, I will call for a vote. All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you so much. Good. Item number 15 is a closed session. Clerk, there's no closed session?
Correct.
Excellent. And with that, we are adjourned at 4:36 p.m. Thank you, Council.